Today I have the founding director of the Voices of Lee,
Who?
Danny Murray. If you know him, you love him. The Voices of Lee have been around for 29 years this week. It's going to be exciting. Danny, I ran across a CD of the Singing Three.
Singers 3.
Singers 3. What year was that?
1972, 3, 4, right in there is when we started. Yeah.
Who are the other guys? Who are the other two?
Lynn Hancock was from 96, South Carolina.
96, is that a town?
96, South Carolina, yeah.
That's the name of a town?
Woman rode from, a little Indian woman rode from Greenville down in 96 miles, and they put a deal at 96. He told the story so many times, but I still forget it. But Bob Laughlin was from Michigan, and he was the other member. We lost Lynn 2 years ago to cancer, and boy, we sure loved to sing together.
Where did y'all meet?
We met in the Lee Singers. Yeah, I came here in 1971, and was
Where were you from?
Burlington, North Carolina.
How far is that from here?
Well, that's about 7 hours over there on I-85, right in the middle of the state, right past Greensboro.
Was your family Church of God?
Oh yeah, yeah. We were Church of God all the way through. And so I had naturally been, one of my pastors was Bill and Eleanor Sheeks. You probably know them, and they live here, or used to. Bill passed a few years ago, but they had sort of pointed me in this direction, and other friends that felt like I ought to come this way. And then all of a sudden, the Lee Singers came to my church one Sunday. And you got to get this picture. A little bitty church, and all we were used to pretty much was that everybody come help us sing kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
And so if you wanted to sing in the choir, all you had to do was just trickle on up there, and about 20 of us would sing, you know? And then all of a sudden, the Lee Singers from Lee College came in there. Man, I never heard anything like that. I was so, it resonated with me, I'm telling you.
They send chills down your spine?
Oh, I'm telling you, they had it, they were just right in there. And Delton Alford was the director of them. Man, he'd moved
Delton or Dalton? Delton Alford.
Yeah, Delton.
So he was in charge of them?
He was the director, and he would move his hand, man, and they would just sing. I said, ooh, I want to learn how to do what he's doing.
How old were you then?
I was 17 years old. And so I basically followed them back here. I auditioned for the Lee Singers and got in.
Like 2 years later, or
no,
what?
that was that I graduated that spring and then came right on that fall semester and got in. I auditioned for the Lee Singers, and man, I just marched around out there till they posted the list, and then I saw that I was on it, and then they asked, we had to go sing somewhere like the first day or something. And I didn't know any of the music. I couldn't read music.
Could you sing?
Oh, I could sing a little bit now. And we had quartets, you know, and gospel singing groups where I was from. Matter of fact, when I was 16, I started a quartet with 4 guys in 4 different cities. And I'd go around and pick them up on Fridays. We'd go sing on Saturday and Sunday, then I'd take them back home.
Gospel music?
Yeah. I missed every Monday at school. Years later, I went back and the teacher said, you know, it's something I always wanted to ask you. Why did you miss every Monday? I said, well, I'd go out and sing. They never knew in school. Back in those days, you just didn't do anything in school. You just went and that was it. Yeah. And I said I'd be tired and my mama let me sleep. I'd get in about 3 o'clock in the morning. She'd let me sleep on Mondays. So anyway, I had that little quartet, and then I came up here and got into singers. And the first time I sung, we sat back down, and he sent me a little note down there. It wasn't very nice, you know, and told me that I looked, what was it? You're the dumbest human being I've ever seen, or something like that, you know.
Basically?
Yeah. But I thought, hey.
And who is this?
Delton Alford, yeah. And I said, well, that's not going to scare me. I'll show you, buddy. So I got in there, and the next year I became his student director, was his student director for 3 years. Then I graduated, and I stayed on as his assistant director for 4 years.
But how did you change your singing tactics?
Well, I was taking voice lessons, and we had to learn a lot about, how to place how to make different sounds. Most people will say, well, that's just the way I sing. No, it's the way you choose to sing. We have the ability right in here, in the tonal mask, we call it, to make thousands and thousands of sounds. One of the exercises I do in my group now, I walk in and I say, Aflac, and they say, Aflac. How did you do that? They had that image that printed in their mind when they heard it on the commercial, and they can spit it right back out.
On the courthouse square at 30 2nd Street is the law firm of Logan Thompson Law. Since 1965, they have served the legal needs for the good citizens of Cleveland-Bradley County. If you've got a problem, they're no problem. Give them a call.
But see, now me, I can't sing.
You can.
Well, I choose not to sing because I have no clue. I don't know if I'm tone deaf or what, but I don't know what,
No, you can sing.
all this stuff is,
I've got a little sign on my refrigerator that says, if you can walk, you can dance. If you can talk, you can sing. Let's get after it,
What was your first love for music, singing?
Well, at church, when I went to church and
Was
I
it a big
started
town?
singing. No, Burlington,
Yeah.
home of Burlington Industries. We used to have the Burlington Mills,
Yeah.
woolen mill here.
Now that's odd. That's
the
coincidental, isn't it?
home of all of it right there. And so it was, it was a textile industry town.
Was it a big town?
No, not big, 150,000 or something, not a big town. But anyway, I went to this little church and we started singing and I just loved it. We'd get up there and we'd get around the piano. Actually, they started us singing, my brother and myself. I have one brother. And we'd sing duets when we were just little bitty guys.
But why not rock and roll? Because you were that era, right?
It's all what you're listening to. It's what's played where you are. And all I heard was gospel music at home and at church, and I just tuned everything else out. I didn't know any rock and roll songs at all when I came, But it was gospel music, and I noticed how it moved people. It would move them. They would cry. I don't know, maybe it was just because my singing was that bad, but they would, they were moved spiritually by it, And I remember distinctly, I know it was before I got my driver's license. I remember going to this little church, little altar. We had one of them little altars. It was just about like a 2x6, down through there. And I remember falling over that thing and just praying, Lord, all I want is somebody to sing with. But I wanted to practice. I wanted to get it right. And most people that I was around, they just wanted to get up there and let her fly. And that didn't appeal to me, I like that precision that I had seen, well, that was before I'd seen the lead singers, but, that's what I like. And you know what? God answered that prayer. I look at the thousands and thousands of kids he sent my way since then. Matter of fact, we have a program in the Church of God. We call it Teen Talent, where they come in. We just had it in August this year, and we'll have about 1,500 kids come here. They'll do drama, and they'll do music, and they'll do all different Bible quizzing, all kinds of different things. And I was over the music division. And one year I said, we're going to take all the winners, going to take you on tour. Going to take you to Florida and then come back up to Atlanta to the big Mount Perrin church. I got it all worked out.
Similar to what you were doing when you were 16, skipping school.
Yeah. I just got them all together and we took off. Man, it was something else. We had the best time. So when we got finished in Tampa, we had to be in Atlanta the next morning to sing. So there wasn't nothing to do but just hit the road and go.
Yeah.
They just sleep on the bus. It wouldn't matter. I had 3 bus loads of them. The first bus was mine and I was driving it, and then I had 2 more. And so I'm coming up through there, man. I'm just getting it. And about the time I get to Atlanta, I look back in my rearview mirror and I see those other 2 buses full of kids. Guess what came to my mind?
What?
That prayer on that altar. All I want somebody to sing with.
And boy, you had it.
And he's saying, look here, the most talented kids in the Church of God, I've given them to you here. Isn't that something? How it all comes around. So I came home to Lee, and Lee just changed my life. I couldn't leave. I met Debbie and the lead singers. Debbie Bilbo it was, her maiden name, and her daddy was a professor at Lee. And she'd pretty much grown up around there. So we were together in the Lee Singers. We got married 2 days after graduation. She went on to teach school, and I stayed there, and they hired me on the staff to recruit students and be the assistant director of the Lee Singers.
After you'd been there 4 years?
Yeah. 1975.
You were not much, you were sort of a kid at that time.
Oh, yeah. I came when I was 18, 19,
So you were
20,
22.
21, actually, when I graduated. And so immediately they started letting us take small groups out of the Lee Singers, you know, because it's a big deal to get 50 of them all geared up out there. So we'd take small groups out. I'd do my schedule, and Dr. Alford approved all that, and we did. So we'd go out, and it was working good. And so I told them what I wanted to do was get my own group. I wanted my own group that would be kind of a hybrid, not just a music department group, but it would be a hybrid of admissions and public relations, you know. Well, can't afford that, and this was so. Debbie and I got busy, and we wrote a proposal, got a Title III grant. We got a little money in there. They said, "Okay, you're on." So we started this.
So you
group.
got a grant for the school?
Yeah. So we started this group. And we called this called this group Promise, and so they said, "Okay, you put them together," and we had some money for scholarship. We had some money for travel. Put them together. Went out. We had a hard week of rehearsal, and our first appointment was in Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama. Well, he had to leave, you know, here at 4 o'clock in the morning, even gaining that hour to get down there. So we'd rehearsed, told everybody, now be ready to go in the morning. And so we got ready and left, and we was driving vans. We had 2 vans. I had a little equipment van behind me, and I had a 15-passenger van. We headed out, and it was so foggy, you could not see 50 feet in front of you. Headed down, got on I-59, and all of a sudden, the northbound traffic had been, because of construction, had been channeled to the southbound side.
God, that's dangerous.
So this guy, he comes over. He's also a student. Been out all night. I could say a lot more there, but I won't. But anyway, he's headed toward us 80 miles an hour in the dark, in the fog. This is our first trip. My group, this is my, you know. And so there were 2 motorcycles ahead of us, just barely going. We're running on 35, 40 mile an hour, just barely creeping along. The last thing I remember, the motorcycle on the left side, up in the air. And then he came in on me, head on. They know I saw him because I hit my brakes and slid 12 feet and turned to the right, which I hope was the reason it saved Debbie's life. She was sitting up in the front seat there. It hit us so hard, it turned that van over end, and we landed upside down in the median. I mean, Lee College brochures everywhere out there. So they started pulling people out. They couldn't get me out because I was trapped. The metal had come up, it mashed me in there. I was laying there with my head sticking out the passenger's door, and the windshield had popped out, and Debbie had crawled out. All she got was a cut on her leg. Isn't that something? And so they laid the kids down, lined them up, out waiting on the rescue workers, rescue squad, and then another vehicle came. Didn't see the wreckage because of the fog. Left the road, came around the van, and then cut back in to get on the road. It was a small car. It was a Volkswagen, but he ran over those kids. And this is the nightmare that happened on the first day of my first trip. Isn't that something?
It's a nightmare.
So it killed one of the little girls. She was a bright, shining star of a talent from Delaware.
I've never heard that story.
Yeah, that happened. In September of '77, I guess it was. And so they had to cut me out of there, got me to Gadsden, put me in the hospital, and because I had a compound fracture in the leg I was hitting the brake with, drove the bone back up, and then they broke the bone off, get me out of there. So I get in there, and it just goes on and on. The car goes over the face of one of the girls, singers. The wheel went right over her face. She lived. And they went in and rewired that all together. And she lived, went on, married, and has been a music pastor and her husband in South Florida for many years. Yeah. But we lost that one girl. Ann Thacker was her name.
You'd just been on the road 2 hours, I
yeah.
guess.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you hadn't even got time to need to go to the bathroom.
So I just knew then that's it for me. It's over. I don't ever want to even think about taking anybody else's child out on the road.
Yeah, how did you get over that?
Well, it was it's torture because they had to keep me in Alabama for about, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before they could move me. And during that time, we go through all this process here on campus, and they have the memorial service and all like that. And this little girl had been raised pretty much by her grandfather. They heard her mother had lived with her grandfather, and he was a Church of God pastor. And after the service was over, they didn't leave town. They wouldn't leave town. They were waiting on me to be transferred. And when they transferred me up here, it was Cleveland Community Hospital then, rolled me in the door out there. They were waiting. And I had been told that they were waiting to see me. So, I had a friend who lost a kid at a youth camp one time, and when the mother got there, she clawed on him like a mountain lion.
So you didn't know what?
So I'm thinking, what are they going to do, So we had a lot of hoopla with the people in admissions and around. Everybody was so kind, and they rolled me in there, and then everybody kind of moved out. And old brother Scalici was his name. And I was pulled up in traction. My legs were pulled up in traction. I had cast on my leg and on my arm, and it's on this arm, and he came over. He never said a word. He just came over to my arm, and he wrote, "We love you, the Scalicis." Oh, man. And so then her mother stepped to the foot of the bed, and she said, "Danny, we couldn't leave town and go back to Delaware without meeting you and telling you thanks for the opportunity you gave her, because she loved this and was looking so much forward to it. And I believe if I'd been holding her in my arms that morning, that the Lord would have taken her. We believe God's will has been accomplished." Now that goes beyond anything I can imagine. I mean, that's too much for me. But here's what it made me. It just like a ton of bricks lifted off of me laying there. I mean,
because you'd had 2 weeks of...
Oh man, I was fearing. What am I going to say to them? What am I going to,
You feel horrible.
Yeah, but I knew, hey, it's over for me. Forget the college singing group deal. It's over. But you know what? If we listen, God always has a better idea. He's got a better plan.
How long did you stay not doing that?
I stayed in the hospital. That was September, and I did, most of the fall I stayed up, I guess till December or whatever. And I got to go home, and then I stayed locked in there for a long time. But to show you what kind of friends, Paul Kahn came over one day. He drove a little Pacer back in those days.
Was he in charge then?
He was no. He had come back as a psychology professor back then. Brought his little Pacer over there with a wheelchair in it, and he said, come up there and got me in that wheelchair and took me out there and put me in and took me over to Eastgate Mall it was then back in Fort Philadelphia, and rolled me around over there for 2 or 3 hours. Isn't that something? And people were just so wonderful, but I said, no, it's over. There's no way I don't want to be, ever responsible for anybody's child again. But I had signed a contract with Fort Benning, Georgia, to do a patriotic concert with this new group in February. And
so you couldn't back out.
So yeah. So then I'm thinking, that's what I'll do. I'll just put together some kids. So, I just went on. I got up. I got to hobbling around. Next thing you know, here we go.
And it really wasn't your fault. That could happen to anybody.
No, yeah.
And fog is hard to see.
Yeah. But, you just think anytime you have somebody's most precious possession, their children, and something happens to them, you think. So just went on, and then right after that, 1979, I left Lee, and I went across the street to North Cleveland Church of God. and became minister of music. And I was there 79 to 85. And in 1985, Paul Kahn got to be the vice president. And he said, Lamar Vest was the president. He said, I can hire one guy. And he said, I want you. Not because I had the skill, because he knew he could trust me and I'd work hard, and we had loyalty to each other, you know. So I did. I left North Cleveland, came back to Lee. And I'm thinking then, okay, it's going to work out now. Things going to work out, you know. My man here is getting in leadership, and we're going to, at least singers, that's what I've always wanted. I'm going to get that bit. No, wouldn't. Finally, he told me, you know, went on playing on. And that's when I started that group, New Harvest. We did that for 15 years. Debbie and I both sang on that group. Most of our kids were born and raised on that bus. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. Judy Jacobs, you know, and her husband, Jamie Tuttle, that have the great church over here, Dwelling Place. And then Jay DeMarcus, who left and started Rascal Flats. Mark Harris.
She started Rascal Flats?
Jay DeMarcus did. Yeah, he's the one who started Rascal Flats. And they had that whole deal. Matter of fact, when they sold 15 million records, they sent me a thing of the record company did, you know, because he always included me in their celebrations. And so hundreds of these kids came through that program. Well, the guy with another country group, I don't know, just on and on. Disney World, a lot of singers there, a lot of them all around. You know, and I can't take credit for any of them. But you hope during that time, you know, you just get to plant a few seeds and teach a few things that will be remembered. We all remember those things, don't we, from our teachers that were close association, you know?
Yeah.
And so then Paul Kahn, you know, says, okay, I want you to do this new group. I don't want a new group. I told you what I wanted.
What possessed him to want to do that?
You know, I just have to believe that he was really seeking God during all those times, trying to formulate what way Lee was going to go, and he knew he needed, you know, something out there to sort of carry the torch for the university. So he called me in his office, big whiteboard at the end of the thing, and he'd go up there and write, and I'd sit on the other end, and he'd draw all out what he thought it ought to be, you know. I wanted that big choir. No. Finally, he told me, he said, listen, if you do that choir, it'll always be somebody else's legacy. But if you'll do this, it'll be your legacy.
He was right.
And you know what I said? I can't even spell legacy. Why would I want one? No. And he was right. Here we are 30 years later. Isn't that amazing? We went then and sat at his house in front of the fireplace. He said, I'm serious about this now. And so I agreed to do it. 1994. We were going to have a big celebration and dedicate some of the buildings that he had built at Lee. And that was when we was going to have our debut performance, September 22nd, 1994.
Because the voices of Lee are different than the Lee music program.
Yeah, well, there's lots of groups, and they're terrific, you know, but, you know, we are unique in the sense that we're, you know, not just in the music department, but we're also you know, public relations and admissions, you know, so we get to, and that was one of the things. I was thinking if I had the right kind of group, I could hit a lick for the school. So I got these kids together. He said, here's the deal. You pick the 16 best you can find. If they'll agree to work with you, well, agree to work with me. I mean, I'm not that hard to work with. and then I'll get them released from the other groups, okay? And so we go down through there, and guess how many I took?
Oh, yeah.
0. You know why? I wanted to start a new organization. And not because they weren't good, they had a lot of great singers. I went out and recruited 16 incoming freshmen. Made my job a lot harder, but I thought it was the right way to go. I didn't want people telling me, well, the way we did it and this is the way we did it. No, here we're going to do
You're
it.
starting with a clean slate.
Brand new kids, you know? And some of them, I wish I could tell you the stories on how some of them got here. One of them was a kid trying to finish homeschooling, and we got him to go back and finish whatever just in time to get here. One of them was a young lady from California, and I called her pastor, and I said, I got a great opportunity for this young lady. You know, if you'll buy her get your church. He said, well, I've got a elders meeting tonight. Get them to buy her a one-way ticket to Lee. We'll take care of it from there. And sure
How
enough,
did
they
you
did.
find these students?
Oh, I'm musically, pretty much aware of what's out there, and people would call me, and some of these I'd met through the teen talent thing. Some of them I'd known because their brothers and sisters had sung for me
But
before.
you had to get them to not go into the music program at least, but into
Well,
the
yeah,
leasing.
they could be music majors. That wasn't, that's good, and we wanted them to study music if they wanted to, but it was open to all majors. So next thing you know, here we go. 1994. Got a whole new slate of kids, and the first morning we sang, and I had decided to go a cappella. Now, why did I do that? Well, I listened to everything, and I always tell people, if you want to find me, look where everybody else is not. So I heard this music. It was a lot of music and real loud and a little bit of voice on top of it, and I said, there's the vacancy, the voice. We're going to do a cappella. So that makes it even harder. I didn't know anything about a cappella singing.
Did it help because you did? Are lead singers today still a cappella?
Voices of Lee? Yeah,
Voices of
that's
Lee.
all of it. I brought that, yeah.
And that's interesting because now you don't have to haul equipment.
Well,
So it's pretty smart too.
Yeah, we do. We still have a lot of equipment, but the point of it
But
is,
you don't have musical instruments.
right, you don't have instruments,
It's got to be easier
But
to get around.
everything we do, is custom written, and we got a beatboxer, does the mouth drums and all like that. It's amazing how much music they can make. But we started like that, and the first time we sang, Beecher Hunter called me and said, I want you to come over there to Life Care and do a breakfast that morning. We were going to sing that night. I said, that's a good practice for us. Mm-hmm. Well, I'd been rehearsing them, but I hadn't heard them in front of microphones. Then I heard them in front of microphones with no music and nothing. It was, I was suicidal that night.
There is something about music that's a cappella.
Oh, yeah. We sang down in Alabama the other night, and the guy came running over, and he said, friend, I just love it when y'all sing Acapulco. I said, that's a cappella, brother, but thank you for noticing. Anyway, on we go. And then just go in there every day. And I said, I'm not going to rehearse them 3 days a week for 1 hour. I'm going to rehearse them every day for 2 hours.
That's a big commitment.
That's a big commitment. But, they'll come in there, and it makes a big difference in what you can accomplish in 1 week when you're going in there for 2 hours every
And they're
day.
still trying to do their studies, right?
Oh, yeah, they got to keep up with all the studies and all that, and then do our schedule. So anyway, it's a day that's like today. All of a sudden, we go on, on. We get to do a lot of fun things. And then here it comes 2009. A day just like today. Telephone rings, I pick it up. It's the NBC Talent Division. We're going to do a new show for a cappella singers. It's going to be a competition called the Sing Off. And we want to know if you're interested in being on it. And I said, well, yeah, I'm interested, but I don't want to be like, American Idol where you go sit in some arena, hope they'll call your number. Oh, no. They said, we know who you are. We know what you do. I said, well, you sure this is not the IRS?
Yeah.
No, they said, yeah, we already have you picked. We've got 8 groups already picked. Here's what you got to do. You go to Atlanta, sing for the executive producers, and you're on the show. So we did, and we were. The day after Thanksgiving, they flew us all to
Seems like I remember
Hollywood.
that. That was a big deal, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a big deal. We were on 8 hours of prime time television. The computer lit up like a Christmas tree. People Googling in Lee University and going to our website. It's unbelievable. As the first international, we'd traveled internationally, but the first international exposure we'd ever had.
You were sort of doing what Dalton Alford did at your church that night when he came.
Right.
Because that promoted Lee.
Because I told them, exactly, you sing good enough, you can't hide. And people knew. People knew what we were doing. They knew about us. We were a feeder program to the Voices of Liberty down at Disney World, where our kids would graduate and go there. And we got a lot of kids that went to Nashville, so a lot of people knew about us,
What's in Nashville?
Well, all the music production and all the
Oh, you
recording
mean-
and all that stuff going on. We got a lot of kids that work in that and sing, and they're studio singers and players, and so.
Not just gospel music.
Right. Anything that comes by, they can sing it. So they knew the kind of training they were getting here. So they were, they were buying into it. So we went through that. We ended up second runner-up, third place. But it was the greatest thing ever for us. And then you would not believe the mail, the emails, you know, and what exposure that was for us at Lee. And we saw a big influx. We started seeing the influx for students, you know, coming from all over places that we weren't used to getting students, like California and stuff.
I know a lot of people that came here just for that.
Yeah. And so that was what I had always prayed and hoped for. I want to hit a big lick.
That was your ministry.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I'm not finished, because that's what I'm looking for this year. I still believe if I work hard enough and these kids do what they're supposed to do and the hand of God is upon us and he's ordering our steps, we're going to hit a big lick. I don't think we've hit the biggest one yet. That's the fuel that keeps me going. And what have we done? Well, we got to go to the White House and sing. Got to go to Broadway. Dr. David Jeremiah took us to Broadway to be in his Christmas music special, you know. I mean, all kinds of things that we got to do, you know, that the opportunities the Lord has given us. And I believe there's more. Why? Because I love this place. This place changed my life, you know. And I've pretty much spent my adult life promoting it, you know, and telling people about Lee, you know.
Everybody knows you're associated with Lee, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
When these students come as freshmen and they say, I want to join Voices of Lee, have they studied how to sing, or are they just people that's gifted with a voice, or is it people that just sign up?
We get all kinds. Of course, we have kids that come in, and what I do usually is when somebody will show interest, you know, sometimes, and I've got a lot of people in the music industry out there that are friends of mine, and they'll tell them about us, or they've seen us somewhere. You know, we're on Bill Gaither's programs and on some of those videos and stuff, so there's a lot of places they can pick up on you. We have over 104 million views on Facebook on songs that we put up, you know. So there's lots of ways they can find out about us. So when they do and they show interest, I say, well, come and sit in on a rehearsal.
So, because they've got some interest and some knowledge, or they wouldn't be interested.
Right.
Yeah.
And you get all kinds of skill levels. And you know what? For me, then, maybe we'll hear, you know, 150, 175 kids this year. We have open auditions twice a year at the beginning of each semester.
And you pick how many?
Well, right now there's 20. You know, I got 15 singing and another 5 that are red shirts. You know, they're in training, you know, getting ready for when one of those graduates.
Or somebody's sick, I guess, right?
Yeah. So you got to keep that going.
So it's almost like a traveling ball team.
It's exactly. It's so much like athletics. It is, because we're training in there. Matter of fact, we were with a guy who played for the San Diego Chargers, and I can't remember his name, in Miami, at a church we were at there together, and he said, man, I can see all that muscle memory at work. You must work them hard. He said, because when we're running through those tires, people think that's stupid, you know. He said, but that's what gives us our agility when we get out on the field. And that muscle memory, you know, will come to play. I said, yeah, you know, it's part of it. You know, we want them to, you know, exercise their voice and work at it until they get great. I heard somebody last week, matter of fact, I asked him, if you were teaching at Lee and you had 3 things you'd want to tell our students, and tell the kids, like kids I work with, that I want them to be influencers of the influencers. You know, I want them to be world changers. What would be the 3 things? One that said, get good at something. Get great. Learn how to do something really well. Mm-hmm. You know, now we got a lot of people that want to dabble. I do a little of this and a little of this. The first way to turn me off, if you want to come and audition, say, well, I play a little of this and I play a little of that and I sing a little of this and yeah, you're not for me. I want somebody who wants to be great at something.
See, I'm a great baritone.
That's right.
Something.
Yeah, I'm studying. I want to be the world's greatest bass. You know, well that would interest me. You know, second thing is you got to set your goals so high. You know, set them higher. You know, and if you only get 80% of them, guess what? You beat most people still by 20 or 30%. Don't set little attainable goals. I want to do 100. I want to sing 100 times this year.
You're saying don't get comfortable.
Yeah. I want to sing 100 times this year. Nobody's making me do that. I'm just driven to do that because I know that's what it takes to keep us good, you know? And so if I don't get but 80, That's still twice as many as most college groups will sing, you know.
Have you ever heard anybody say that if you do something 10,000 times, you become an expert? Mm-hmm. You ever heard that
Yeah, that's
saying?
interesting,
I don't know
isn't
where
it?
they got that 10,000 times, but
Believe it? Yeah, well, it's true.
do some people just, does everybody have a good voice, a beautiful voice?
No.
Some people
but it
don't
takes
have
all
it.
kinds when you put them in there together, different timbres.
Can you take somebody that doesn't have a beautiful voice and they can still become a really good singer?
We've had some pretty good success stories, but most of the time, no. Most of the time, they have to already have some skill in singing. But I'm willing to take them at
But
whatever
I mean,
level
I'm
they
just
are.
saying, does everybody have a beautiful voice that's just not trained?
No,
make
I don't
sense?
think so. I think there's all kinds of voices, and and some people, even you hear some people are real scratchy. They kind of push down on their larynx instead of letting the air come through it. So they damage their voice even at an early age. But you want to set some high goals, and then you want to always give back.
But
Isn't that a great thing?
a beautiful voice. If somebody has like Hank Williams Sr., he really didn't have that great of a voice. He really couldn't carry a tune that good, but it worked for him.
Yeah,
Maybe one of the biggest success stories there are.
And in studios, well, back then it was all analog, but now it's digital.
I mean, the auto tune stuff.
Yeah, once we can take you singing, we can take you down here to our studio, and we can have you sing Amazing Grace about 4 times. And out of those 4 times, we'll get some good notes in all different parts of it. And then we'll go what we call Frankenstein, put that thing together, And a digital picture, you can take any sound and make it. And of course, they can tune it. They can do anything they want to with it. It's amazing what they can do with just a mediocre sound, then all kinds of effects they can put on it. So, it's hard to believe what you hear on records.
And you don't know if those people are, if it's authentic or if it's been.
Unless when you go see them live, most of the time you can tell.
Well, I figure the ones that don't do live concerts are probably heavy into the auto tune.
Yeah, it's.
Can they auto tune it live?
Yeah.
But just not as accurate, probably.
Well, it's all based on the tonal center. So whatever key it's in, So if you're singing a song in F at church today.
Well, how do I know what F is?
And
See, I'm so green on that. What's F?
That's just one of the keys, So if you're singing whatever key you're singing in, if we tune that auto tune to that key, whenever you get outside of that, it'll pull you back in, whether you're below it or above it.
Who says the tone is F?
Well, it starts with the tuning of A being 440 cycles, where you vibrations, and then that's where it goes on from there. So, you got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C up the scale.
Why not just A to Z?
I don't know. I wasn't there that day when they decided that.
That's all over my head.
Hey, yeah.
Is that what they teach you in music school? That stuff?
Yeah.
Like the history of the A, B, and C?
Oh, yeah. And
What
of course,
about the fa, sol, la?
The shape notes is what we had, what we grew up around the church on. A lot of us did years back.
You mean the hymnals?
Hymnals, because it was shape notes,
Yeah, how do you read that? I got that in church, and I think, man, how they know what?
Yeah, well, it's just built on the solfege, the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and each one of those notes has a different shape to it. And every time you see that, you know that that's the re or mi, whatever it is, and that's the so it's all relative,
Well, it's so far out of my thinking.
Yeah, but
Isn't
what
that
if we
some-
had to read this?
I could read that.
See, we had to read this schematic right here.
See, I
where
could
would I
read that.
start? I'd have these doors swinging the other way and everything going the wrong way.
So you're probably on some stuff. You ever wonder what stuff we're just totally ignorant on that other people just get it like that? Like singing, you get it, I don't.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of it. And that's why the Lord puts us all in different paths, isn't it?
We have to.
And He puts us in a lane and says, you run here,
You ever wonder if maybe there's something we're even better at, but we just hadn't run into it yet? We hadn't tried, maybe it's
Sure.
tennis or badminton or ping pong or...
You know what I wanted to be when I was growing up?
What's that?
Auctioneer. Hey, boys, I'm gonna give on me.
Well, that's sort of using the voice.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to be. Did you know an entertaining auctioneer will make you stay longer and pay more than you ever thought you would, right?
Yeah, and if
have
he's got a
good time.
buddy in the crowd, you won't know what's going on.
You have that light fixture bidding
Yeah.
against you. But I love that. My daddy was kind of a horse trader, and he'd take me to these things. I love auctioneers.
Did he go to horse auctions?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I've noticed that a horse auctioneer is a little bit different than a land auctioneer.
Yeah. Yeah, but the car is the one. Those boys that do the cars, oh, man, it's fast. It's the fastest, yeah.
What's the point in being fast like that, I wonder?
Get the cars through there, you know? So many in an hour. It's all on time, you know? You got people standing there ready to buy, and you got to get them through there.
Did your brother come to Lee?
No,
too?
he didn't. He stayed and went to a community college, and he took 2 or 3 different things, and then he came here at one time and drove a truck for Lou Winters. He and his wife drove cross country. You remember Lou? Mm-hmm. And then he moved to Mobile and worked for a group down there for him. You might have heard of them. They were really, popular back in the 90s and stuff. It was 4 guys, and so he drove and took care of their bus, and so he's retired now. But yeah, we used to sing together in church, and
is he a good singer too?
yeah, he's a good harmonizer. Yeah, we sort of learned. Our Aunt Frances taught us how to harmonize, and we'd get around the piano and play and sing. But
Was that your mother's sister?
Daddy's sister, yeah.
You
But
ever go back to Burlington?
I haven't been back in a long time. I go through there a lot, when we go to Raleigh and over that way, we ride 85, 40 goes into 85 over there. But I haven't been back to visit much in a long, long time. But, because when I left, and came here, this became the center of the universe for me, And now 4 babies. We have 3 daughters and 1 son. And they all went to Lee, graduated, and gave us 11 grandbabies. I'm the most blessed. I'm the most blessed man in the world.
That's 15 people. You're 16 with your wife.
So when people talk about the economic impact that Lee has, what about that? So I came here from North Carolina. I stayed. I married a local girl. Debbie was the homecoming queen at Cleveland High School back in 1971. And now she's the provost and vice president at Lee. Isn't that something? So we just stayed. This has been our life. But, I come here, and now all of my daughters and their husbands, they all have businesses, and they stay here. You look at the economic impact that it gives. Plus, twice a year, we have this influx of parents and students, buying everything Walmart and Target has for the dormitory over here,
Well, all of that stemmed from them coming to your church and singing one Sunday night.
Isn't that something? And I can't take credit for all that. I tell you, the guy who revolutionized it over there was Paul Kahn.
But what I'm saying is, what would have happened if they hadn't have come?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? I might have just stayed over there and worked in the Burlington Mills.
Yeah, or gone to another college and another whatever.
Well, Elon College was right down the street. But since then, there've been a lot of cases, and people that we've met all over the world. And, I talk to every waitress that comes to my table. What you going to be when you grow up? And they're like, well, I don't know. I'm thinking, why don't you come to Lee? All the time. Here, just email us. Tell us, let us help you. We'll help find the money for it,
What was it like the first day you met Paul Kahn? You remember the first meeting?
The first time was, he had just written this book on the Lee Singers called The Music Makers. And they were releasing that book. We were having a big deal at homecoming. And I remembered then, and I remembered then that I was I was taken by him, how quick he was and how smart he was. And, then I never went to his class. I wasn't a good student, so if I had gone to his class, he probably wouldn't have liked me. But he saw I was kind of a class clown, I was running around trying to make everybody laugh. And so he pulled me out, and he had me do a couple of things before we really knew each other. He had me, the Parade of Favorites, they have over there, he had me MC that and do some things.
How much older is he than you?
Well, he's what now, 78? Yeah.
Seven,
And here I am, 47.
That's right.
So that's, no. I'm 70. I just turned 70.
Is that right?
Turned 70 in July.
You got nice hair.
Well, thank you.
I wished if I had your hair and you had my face, we'd have something.
I bought that up in Knoxville at that hair. No, but you know, I tell you what, I was so taken by him because he was such a unique individual.
He's so
You know,
driven.
most people that are visionaries, you know, then they don't ever see the details. You know,
He
or they
does
don't
both.
know.
He can do both.
He is an unbelievable combination of both of them.
Wouldn't you hate to go against him on something?
Woo!
You just have to give up.
I used to tell people when he asks you something, don't be foolish. You know, he knows the answer. He just wants to see what you're gonna say. And he knows everything about. I said he probably knows my budget today better than I do. Every dime that's in it. You know, he's has such amazing information. But then he's down to earth. You know. And he's not like you're talking to a computer or somebody that can't communicate. I have seen him with an audience of 10,000 people just stand him on their head. Back when he was writing the books about Amway, you know, that was in the 80s.
That was
in the 90s.
That was when it was just
no,
maybe,
that was in the
maybe early
80s.
Early 80s.
Because when he came to be president of Lee, he laid all that down. I know one guy that said to him, look, you're taking this deal at the college. I want 45 Saturday nights. You know, and at that time, he was getting, you know, like $10,000 for a speech. And he didn't say, let me pray about it, or he said, I can't do that. And they said, why not? He said, well, I have to preach in chapel on Sunday night. I have to be back at the school. And they said, man, we got all kinds of airplanes. We have you helicopters. We can have you from any place, you know, in 24 hours. He said, no, you don't get it. He said, if I'm not totally into your deal, I'm not going to help you. And if I'm not totally into this thing, I can't do this school. You know, I want to build this place. I want to see change.
Well, he did.
He did. You know, early on, you know, he gathered us all around. He said, okay, here's the deal. You know, the student is the customer. Y'all start treating him like that, you know?
We want their sister and their cousin and et cetera. How many
Yeah.
students are there now? Is it like 2,000 or
No,
1,600?
No, it's more than that. It's like just under 4,000, I guess. You count them all.
If all the students left the apartments that they're renting, there'd be a big
Wouldn't that be something?
vacancy.
You look at all that, and not only the ones that are students, but the ones who come and stay.
Yeah,
you know?
like Kevin Brooks.
Yeah,
He's an example.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's so many
Doug
of those, you know.
Dwayne Hamby.
Yeah, and so you know, it's really made an impact. But it resonated with me. I'm telling you. For Debbie and me, he's the one who really sold us the dream. Hey, look, you know, it was, you know, when I came, and I'm not being disrespectful to anybody because I appreciated. I mean, my father-in-law was one of them. They had given their lives here and worked hard, but that place was a dump, you know. And here comes this guy, no, we're going to change this around here.
Yeah, they
It's
had
gone.
the dorm over there. The dorms were pretty ragged when he got started.
Well, and you drove right through the main part of campus and them big old planters out there.
You know, I forgot about that. Remember when the dorm burned? Didn't the dorm burn over there?
Oh, yeah. That was,
He's redone all of that.
yeah, that was a terrible, terrible thing. And probably the biggest blow to his early presidency. You know, that just about did him in, like it did me. You know, when it comes to
Same.
people,
Yeah.
you know, getting hurt and people getting killed, and you're thinking, I just don't want to be there anymore, you know? And, but God is so much, his ways are so much higher than ours, and he always has a better plan, and he knows it's all in his plan. If we, you know, just run the antenna up and listen to him, you know, most of the time we're praying, telling God what we're going to do and asking him to endorse it. And then telling people, well, I prayed about it. You know, well, no. That you ask God and then listen. That's the trick.
Well, how do you know if you're listening?
Right.
It gets confusing.
It does. It gets complex. But here's to me, what the salvation in that is. He knows you better than you know yourself.
Do you ever wonder if it matters really what we do? it's because sometimes you try to do something and it's just not working, and you keep trying, and finally you get it to work, and you shouldn't have done it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's hard to just solo every little activity we do. I think, the big scope of what you're trying to do. Are you trying to help people? Are you a giver or a taker? Are you trying to hurt people or help people? And that's what I want to be. I want somebody that helps people. I want to be a blessing. I want my life when it's all over. I told my kids, I say, you won't have a lot of duplexes to sell, but you have a heck of a funeral. There'll be people in here from everywhere. Because I have met people,
that's the truth.
and I have told them about this place, and they say, well, where in the world's Cleveland, Tennessee? I say, it's halfway between Ooltewah and Etowah. It's real easy. And just come on. If I can get them to bring their kid in here to walk the grounds of Lee, buddy, most of the time we can get them to sign up.
You couldn't beat the college experience.
That's true. So I pretty much spent my adult life, telling people about Lee and
since you were 19.
Yeah, been trying to tell people this is the place, and then we get a chance to work with some of them closely inside the group. Some of them will come and they'll look at it and they don't like my Army and they take off. That's okay. That's all right. It's all about the work ethic. When I start into these people and I audition, ever how many it is, and I can't take near that many as I audition, I always pray, Lord, illuminate the right ones to me. I mean, if you was going to hire somebody to work closely with you and run your life here, you don't want it to be haphazard. You want somebody to really buy into what you're doing. I say, Lord, illuminate the right ones. I'll audition somebody and 2 weeks later, I can't even remember them, just gone. And then by the same token, I'll have somebody that'll pop back up on me that was here about 8 months ago. And I'll say, yes, pull that form out on that kid, wherever, this from wherever, and I'll get that thing out and I'll stare at it and I'll pray over it. And next thing you know, I'll call them, send me a video of what you did in church Sunday, and on we go. But it's not about talent. It's about work ethic. Are you willing to work hard?
If you've got the good voice.
Yeah, well, we'll get your voice good. We'll get you there if you'll work hard enough.
So somebody could have a bad voice and make it good.
Yeah, we'll get it there if you work hard enough. The problem we're finding now is that kids have been told how great they are since they were born. Everything they do is wonderful, and then you get that deal of critiquing yourself by yourself. You don't look at your company in solidarity. You don't do that. You're constantly looking at your company against these big companies in Nashville and
I do
Philadelphia.
it when I drive down the road and see other people building stuff.
Yeah,
See it all the time.
I'm critiquing. You got to critique yourself against the standard, and most kids are not willing to do that because my mama told me that was great. Yeah, and she also said as long as you do your best, that's all you got to worry about. Mm-hmm. Sometimes your best is not good enough. Sometimes we got to up your best. So are you willing to go about upping your best? And then we got something to deal with, Come in here every day and sing for 2 hours,
Well, they sing for 2 hours. The same, the song.
Oh, no, we got so many songs, We have a patriotic program we have to keep legged up, and ready to go. We have some are, like we do some songs from Broadway or,
What time does the class?
3:30, 3:35 to 5:30 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're 5.
So if somebody's not showing up much and they're not doing very good, you're probably going to replace them.
Oh, if they ain't not showing up, they're gone right then. I mean, unless they got and the first thing we ask them up front is to, there's some paradigm changes that has to come, the way we think. First of all, kids have always been taught that, hey, as long as I got a good excuse, that's all that matters. Mm-hmm. And the first thing we get them to sign on to is excuses are not acceptable. You're either here or you're not. And if you're here, we'll make it work. But if you're not, it's no way, So you look at these coaches, Mm-hmm. So what if you're playing football down in Alabama and you just didn't feel like going to practice today? You wouldn't have a job tomorrow.
But our whole society now is not holding people accountable for what they do. And I don't know what the answer is.
Do-overs. We live in a world of do-overs.
It's like the video games. Oh, I got killed off. I got another life, or I got a.
What about when you're filling a form out online and you goof it up? You do it again, right?
Right.
No harm, no foul. Just do it again.
Used to, he had to write the right pen.
No,
I don't have
you have
another
to
sheet.
do it.
I got to make sure I don't mess up.
Yeah,
And think
no,
about.
do-overs all the time, you know, and it's just a programming, and you know, we got so many paradigms that you know, like people who grow up singing in church. It's kind of like, well, if it's soft and it's slow, then that doesn't take much energy. But if it's high and if it's fast and loud, you know, that takes a lot of energy. Exact opposite. The softest, slowest song we sing, we're going to learn how to put the most energy into that. And that's what gives it that good, clean,
That's
pure
what
sound.
Van Morrison does.
Oh,
He'll
man.
take the slow songs and give them energy.
Yeah.
And the fast songs, he'll sort of take the energy out of it in a weird way.
Yeah, and that's the paradigm that they're all used to. You know, get it going, you know, and it's it's got a
Yeah.
lot of energy to it. No. We call it compressed intensity. So what I'll do is we'll have this note like we're doing on God Bless America. We get to the last little line. God bless. Now I want you to try to sing. I want you to sing that as loud as you can. They'll go and just now double that energy and sing it as soft as you can. And that is an amazing sound. I mean, it's just so pure and
Where'd
so
you
rich.
learn all this?
You know, from doing it. When I started this, I didn't really know anything about a cappella singing. Of course, it changed a lot. You know, back when I started this in 1994, it was just kind of real boring madrigals and spirituals. But I had a friend, I'd sent him a lot of singers down at Disney World, Derek Johnson. And I called him. I said, buddy, here's what I've decided to do. I'm going to go a cappella with this new group I'm going to do, and I want you to write me some music. I don't know if I can handle it or not. If I can't, just tell them I stole it, and you won't have to take credit for it or take the blame for it. But oh man, he sent us a lot of music that the kids at Disney World do, you know, and all like that. We learned a lot. Now then, when they graduate, if they go down to Disney World and they put on Voices of Lee, we got two of them in the line. Well, one of them just left there, Freddie Garman's daughter. Whitney, she's singing that super high stuff. The bass singer is from down here in Atlanta, and he came through the Voices of Lee. We've had
So if they put that on their resume, it's looked at for sure.
They know what kind of training they've had, and they know it's compatible with what they're going to do, you know? Because, you know, some days we go in there, and if we go in and I spend 20 minutes working on the shape of a vowel and the sound of a certain place in a song, man, I mean, you got some kids, they can't handle that, you know, because they've been in there where they've, you know, been doing in church where they just...
It'd be easier to teach me than it would them.
Yeah, throw them a CD and they say, we're going to do number 3, number 7, number 9. You just got to learn the melody and come back and sing it any way you want to.
Do all valves have a certain shape of the mouth?
Well, to get maximum sound, what you're trying to do is create a resonating cavity. And what I try to do is I make the example of saying hello into a cup or saying hello into a trash can. Hello, hello. It's a world of difference. So when we sing ooh, we got to create a chamber here that gives the sound a place to move, and that chamber is what gives it the richness and the fullness.
So sometimes you not want the richness and fullness when you say
yeah.
say hello.
Yeah, well, you want it. You want it to be sounding big because I don't want them to sound like they're 15 or 16. I want them to sound like they're 35.
But the word hello, the valve O, is it always sung the same?
Not
O,
always. No.
Does the mouth always go the same?
But the most pleasing sound is a sort of an oval sound where you lift the palate back here and...
What's the palate?
Palate back up in here, that little part up in there, you know, and then you
lift
drop
it.
the jaw. Oh, yeah. And that's the most pleasing sound that you can have. But what you're trying to do is keep them away from going where the sound goes sideways and it gets a little thin. Oh, man, we have a ball in there every day.
Do you see some of these rock stars sing and you say, now they've been trained?
Oh, yeah.
Could you see the way the mouth moves?
And, you know, it's different, whatever song they're doing. And some of these country singers or whatever, it depends on the style, what you want to do.
Like that guy, rich man north of Richmond.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's like millions and millions of views. I don't know if he had any singing lessons, but it works for him.
Yeah, he's got... You know, what he's got is, of course, he's a big stature. He's about 6'7", isn't he?
Is he that big?
Yeah, he's a big, tall guy. And
What's he got?
yeah, charisma, natural charisma. But he's just hit a nerve with the message here.
And charisma.
Yeah, and
it
what-
all worked together.
But what people ought to be saying is politicians ought to be looking at that and saying, hey, we ought to listen to this guy. You know, he's saying, he's hitting a nerve. He's having big crowds everywhere he's going, and people are saying, yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
He was on Joe Rogan.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, they say now he's moved. He was going to be at Cotton Eye Joe's, then he's going to be at Sevierville Center. Now they said he's going to be at the Smoky Mountain Stadium.
That's what they said, yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, he's really hit.
Yeah.
What, about 4 weeks ago, he was a nobody?
Oh, yeah.
A nobody.
Yeah. And it
Writes
goes that fast.
one song.
And that's the difference in the
And when
digital
he put it,
media now.
When he
you
put it on the internet, he was just out at his, I guess at his house with 2 dogs in the yard.
Yeah. Oh, I'm telling you, though, he hit the nerve, didn't he?
He did.
And people everywhere, you know, and that's the way it is, you know, songs that touch people. The biggest song we had was that song we did in the chapel over here. What a Beautiful Name, worship song. And, you know, most people, you know, they draw out these sketches on exactly what frame this is going to be and all like that. I just went and got a couple of guys with cameras and said, come on. And we did that, and the next thing we know, boy, that thing took off. It was viral because of the heart of it. That's what people
I
want.
think that's what they're seeing in him.
Yeah, the people love the heart of the matter, and that's what it comes with the music we're involved in, which is mostly in church, you know, and people, I know what my needs are. When I go to church, my needs are so basic. I just want to feel close to God. I want something that moves me. I don't really care how good you are at singing or preaching or anything. Just, I want something that makes me feel like I'm coming in contact with God. I'm getting closer to Him. And I can feel something going on, you know? Mm-hmm. That's what makes a difference to me. But we made a lot of music. This right here is two CDs in here, 25 years.
25 years of the Voices of Lee.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a lot.
A lot of singing in there. But you know, the interesting thing is when they
Can
come
you get
back,
that, Gwen?
when they come back next year for the 30th anniversary, most of these songs they can sing like they've never been gone.
Now, right here, Acapella Christmas. Is this all Christmas music?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Except the bonus track, which is that What a Beautiful Name, the one that got the 64 million views. But Christmas is a big time of year for us.
64 million views.
Yeah, that's amazing, huh? This Christmas is a big deal for us. We'll do about 20 Christmas concerts from the end of November through the 20th of December. That's a very busy
And they're
time
already
for us.
scheduled out where you're going to be?
Oh, yeah. We already have
You have
scheduled
somebody
out.
that's in charge of scheduling? Mm-hmm. Is it
Yeah.
a student or is it?
No, my assistant, Victoria Eachus, she does that.
Well, that's a job, isn't it?
No, yeah, because you got to go in with all these people. We're going to do a concert at the Museum of the Bible this year again.
Where's
You
that
know,
at?
That's in Washington, D.C., and that's a beautiful, beautiful place. And the venue they have to sing is just unbelievable. And then on December the 5th, which is a Tuesday, we will come home and we'll do Home for Christmas, which will be our in-town concert, a gift to the community. And that'll be December 5th on a Tuesday night at Pangle Hall.
Is this a new thing?
No, we usually do it every year. We didn't during COVID, of course.
What,
you know,
where
we
they
got
stand
knocked
on the stairway or something?
out. No, they stand around. They take the stage out there. We have it. It's beautifully decorated.
Oh,
lit.
that's right.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah,
take
it's
the
like
stage opposite, like they have a graduation?
No, Pangle Hall. You know,
Oh,
the old
okay.
First Baptist Church.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and
I'm
it's
thinking the bell tower. I don't
And
know
it's
where
a
I got-
beautiful. It's a beautiful time. Eventbrite is the Eventbrite.com. They have tickets, and you can go there and get your tickets, and then we'll. It's free, but all you have to do is get a ticket.
So
And,
they know there's enough seats.
Yeah. And if we have to do 2 shows, we will. It's
And
a
all of
wonderful
this
time.
started from the Singers 3. Get this,
Oh,
Gwen.
yeah.
See if you can pick out.
Oh,
which one.
now we're gonna get real here. Now there he is.
So you are.
That's me in the brown right there.
Right here?
Yeah, that's a long time ago, huh? That's
Boy.
before I looked like Colonel Sanders.
How old were you then?
I was 18 years old right there, 19 years old right there. Man.
Were you big into God then?
Oh, yes, sir, boy, I'm telling you.
You were there from the beginning?
Oh, yeah. And I knew that without, the touch of God on our music, it wouldn't get off the ground. It wouldn't be any good. Paul Kahn went to the board of directors and said, these three boys can sing good. And said, let me have them on the summer, and I'm going to take them out on a tour to youth camps. And we did. And he took us out, man. And that's really where we, first got to know him, and it was a wonderful time. But we recruited students, man, everywhere we go.
You look similar to the Monkees.
Yeah.
The Monkees group, that was about the era, wasn't it?
That was, yeah. Maybe that's what we were trying for, huh?
Now, when was the first day you said, you know what, I'm going to stay in Cleveland? Was it in that 4 years that you were working at Lee after you'd graduated?
Well, you just keep falling forward. And I knew, right after graduation, Debbie and I got married, and we were right here in Cleveland, and she was teaching public school, but she was working on her master's to come back and teach at Lee. So, it just seemed like it just kind of funneled into the right thing, And I didn't really, I had some good job offers my senior year before I graduated, but I just couldn't think of leaving here. I couldn't. Yeah, it was just too.
Is your
too
father
good.
and mother still? Are they passed on?
They have. I brought both of them here. They both came here.
Oh.
My father came, and we had him for about 7 years. He had dementia, Alzheimer's, and so I brought him here from North Carolina, and I'd take him with us on the bus. When I didn't have a place for him. That's before we put him into a 24-hour care.
Yeah.
And so I just put him on the bus, and the kids would just have a ball with him. He'd do good as long as we were leaving, but when we'd turn around and come back, he thought we were still going, and he'd go over and give the bus driver a hard time. But
what's a terrible disease?
Oh man, it's spooky. It's so spooky, and just pray that God will give us a cure.
Are people getting that because they're living longer?
I often think that you remember when we used to hear. When as kids, we hear people died of hardening of the arteries.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that?
You don't hear it anymore because I guess that's another way of saying dementia.
Now they've divided it up into these categories, I guess.
Yeah. So it is. It's a spooky disease, but...
Do you go into the office every day at Lee?
Yeah, I go to the studio down...
It's not like a real office like...
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
or
is it?
Oh, yeah. It's real.
So it's real business.
Yeah. You got computer and phone and everything, and you got to go, So what you got to do is work out all these logistics and what you're going to do, manage these kids, and all that.
Is that 50% of your work and teaching them to sing and all that? Is that another 50, or is it more?
The logistics are getting tougher for me. I don't know if it's more time or not, but these 20 Christmas concerts, working out all that. We're going out to San Diego to Dr. Jeremiah's church, Shadow Mountain. We fly that. We go to Austin, Texas, out there with Randy Phillips, and all these places. And so, be in this town today, and then how you going to get back and make your schedule? And the bus is going to meet us in Raleigh because we're going to be in North Carolina for 4 days, and then
And at some point, we need to practice singing.
Well, once we get that program together, we're pretty much gone.
So do you set up the program?
Well,
the songs you're going to sing?
I do. I have a program that I will use for them that will be more than what we're actually going to do, and I'll pull from that. The trick is they actually don't know what they're going to sing until I ask them to give the pitch, So we got a guy blows the pitch, and when I call for that song, usually they'll know what we're going to start with. This season, if we use The Most Wonderful Time of the Year, and so we're usually going to open with that. But after we open, they don't know where I'm going, because I'm trying to read the room. I want to do what people like, and what's going on.
They're needing this song now. They're not needing this.
Well, yeah,
song.
I want to have a little fun with them, and you can kind of tell, sometimes you get an audience and they want to kind of, holler back at you, and we got some stuff for them. We got some that we just want to sit there and watch you,
Your songs, sometimes they move around too. I like that.
Yeah, we like to have a variety where there's something for everybody there, not just one thing. And then I'll pull the beatboxer out and let him do something by himself, in the microphone, the mouth drums.
Do you have a beatboxer every year?
Oh, yeah.
What if you can't find one?
I do. I just do. I find one somewhere. I'm going to find them if they're...
Do they sing too or just beatbox?
Well, they have to, yeah. They're not really serious vocalists, but they have a microphone, and when we're doing a vocal orchestra song that doesn't require a beatboxer, then they sing along. But yeah, I'm going to find me one somewhere, The one I got right now came from Minot, North Dakota.
Minot, North Dakota.
He'd never seen the ground before. All he ever seen was snow.
Boy, that's a real talent, isn't it?
It really is. It is.
That hadn't been around.
Well,
15 years.
really, contemporary a cappella really came to be at the sing-off, is where it really got its
What do you mean
launch.
contemporary a cappella?
Contemporary a cappella, rather than everybody just sort of singing all the same rhythms and parts all along, nice, flowy, madrigal, spiritual kind of a thing, the bass usually has got a separate line where he's imitating a bass guitar. And the beatboxer's doing his thing, and then you got several other different layers of singers. So I'll have a 4-part thing, and then I'll maybe a trio on above that or a solo above that. And then sometimes you have somebody that's mimicking guitar sounds back in there. So it's a pretty complex deal.
Do you ever just sing from the old hymnals? The old...
We've got a couple of songs that they're arrangements, that we do from those. But, I haven't done a solfege number, but I'd like to do one of those.
What do you call it? What do you call it?
Solfege is
What's
what
that?
they call it. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, where you sing the different shape note,
Okay.
instead of the words.
But I mean from the old hymnals. The old...
Redback hymnal.
Yeah.
We sing When God Dips His Pen of Love in My Heart. It's on that 25-year CD. So we've always brought back older songs. We just completed a recording project. Well, we're almost completed with it, and we've got a medley on there of songs of Bill and Gloria Gaither that people really like too. It goes through those songs that they've known them for. Because He Lives, songs like that. So and then we got some very contemporary worship songs that we do in a cappella form. So. Something for everybody.
I saw you the other day at Jenkins, and I meant to say hi, but I was tied up. You go eat there a lot for lunch?
It ends up we go there quite a bit. It's just good and it's consistent, and usually if we have people from out of town, I like to take them there too. It's kind of a fun place.
And it's a little bit pretty good for a business meeting and not too dull.
Yeah.
Where else do you eat?
I like Aubrey's.
I like Aubrey's, but I don't know. I went to Champy's.
Champy's
high. It's high.
Yeah, but it's a big place, isn't it?
It's big, yeah.
Yeah. They had a guy over there was doing music, the other night when we went, and he was pretty good. Now
I called them to be on here, and they said they'd think about it.
Really?
I thought, well...
Hey, Champions, you need this.
Yeah.
Champions, come on,
say,
get with
if
it.
we're going to go eat there, I'll think about it.
This will help you. This will help you.
It really will.
Yeah.
What about, do you ever eat at Gardner's? I guess you do,
Yeah,
right?
oh yeah.
Well, they're so busy, you can't get in.
I know. It seems like it takes a while when you go there.
Where else you eat at?
Sometimes we go just to Jimmy John's. Debbie and I will go at lunch over
They
there.
don't put enough salt on food. They don't have
Really?
any salt in there, if you notice.
Yeah.
Not
yeah.
any on the table.
Well, I try not to salt food, because I don't want
I
to.
try too salt.
But you know what? We go to our cafeteria, our dining hall.
Can people from Cleveland go there?
Lord, yeah.
What is it? Is it a walk through like the Piccadilly or
No,
what?
there's like different stations. So one will be Italian food, one will be American food, one will be pizza, one will be this.
Now
all
my
these
son
stations.
goes there.
Yeah.
Little D or D the third.
Does he like it?
Yeah. Well, actually he graduated and now he's trying to get into medical school. But my other one, Cole, will be there in early spring, I guess, or after January.
Oh, that's great.
So
Thank you for trusting us with you boys. We appreciate that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. What's the future hold? Are you going to keep pressing forward? Are you going to take no prisoner attitude?
Well,
or are you going to land this thing?
When we go back to what we were talking about a while ago, God's always got a better idea. And I figure he started this thing. I had to be kind of bumper card into it, because I had a different plan. And he got me on this path, and it's been good, and I believe we've been effective, and I believe we're still effective. And here's my deal. As long as I have kids continuing to come, wanting to learn what I'm teaching, and as long as I have churches and conventions and different people that want us to come, you know, invitations to go sing, that's to me the answer, you know. When the brook dries up, I'll be out on the farm. I love horses. I'll be out there fooling with the horses, you know. But right now, I think it's God's call, and He'll listen, you know, He'll listen.
So you're going with the flow?
I'm going with the flow, and when the brook dries up, I'll go to the house. I don't have any problem with it at all. I don't want to stay too long, but you know, I tell you what, I think right now I'm doing some of my best teaching because it's based on experience.
What else would you do with your day?
Oh, I know. I would be.
You really like horses?
I'd be a nervous wreck.
You really like horses?
Oh, man, I do.
I went out to Tri-State last night for their yearly therapeutic riding banquet.
Yeah.
It was, boy, those horses. What is it what's the science behind horses being therapeutic?
You know, there's something about a person. They're either a horse person or not. If you like a horse, and you like being around horses, it's just kind of a natural, organic thing. Nothing relaxes me. Nothing clears my head like being around a horse. I don't have to ride him. I can go brush him, just be around him.
Feed him, maybe, throw him
just
some
be
hay.
around. Yeah, just be around him. That clears my mind better than anything. Now, everybody's got something like that. It might be golf, you know, for some people, maybe some
No, I
other.
think a horse it goes beyond that.
There's something settling
There's something about that.
Yeah, and you see that program they've got out there, and
Boy, it's a good program.
it is. Yeah, I was on the board help in the early stages of that.
Oh, with Max?
Yeah, I sure was. And that program has grown to where it's helped so many people, man. I mean, and, you know, and watch these kids, and they can express themselves there where they can't anyplace else.
And there's no science behind it other than it does work.
It does. Well, you know, they're doing that with music therapy now. You know, a lot of people doing music
I've
therapy.
always believed that.
You know, people that have the terrible disease we were talking about, Alzheimer's, you ever notice those people that have played music and they don't forget their music, they forget everything else? Do you ever see that special on Glenn Campbell?
Oh, yeah. He could still play, but he didn't know his name.
Oh yeah, he didn't know what was around him, but all his guitar solos, he remembered them just to every note. You know, they had to put everything out on the screen for him, you know, but when it came to his guitar notes, he could, you know, he'd just play. And many people we've seen around churches, same kind of thing. You know, they played the piano at church, you know, and they could not, they even had the dementia to the point they lost their language. But, buddy, you could say, play I'll Fly Away, and they'd just take off, you know. It's amazing, isn't it? You know,
What's amazing is you making this a cappella and you're going around getting all these invitations. That's amazing.
Well, you know, there's a couple of things. People love youth and energy. That's why I love college age, or I would have a professional group. So the last thing I could ever think of wanting is a college choir, but I want a group of college-aged people that can sing and act like professionals. We got a saying over there at rehearsal. We say, you know, amateurs practice till they get it right. Professionals practice till they can't get it wrong. And it makes a difference when you really set the standard a little higher. Now, you know, you're going to have some that are just going to feel like that's unfair, it's too much, and they'll move on. That's no harm, no foul. You know, that don't mean they won't be effective in their area of life and whatever. But if you're passionate about it and you want to be great, that's how we got that call from the sing-off. People knew we were serious about it. And so, and all these kids that have been through the program now that are out there, that's what makes me feel so good, you know. I can't take credit for any of them, but boy, you know, we're lucky enough the other day to get on a project for, you know, Jaron Davis, the guy that wrote "We're Standing on Holy Ground." They did a kind of a thing called tribute of all the songs he had written. You know, not all of them, but songs that were really popular. And our alum, who was in the Voices, Bradley Knight, who's a, you know, probably arranged more choral music than anybody out there. He asked us if we'd do this a cappella arrangement on this song, Peace Speaker. And we did, and that whole project, we just got one song on it, but that whole project has received a nomination for a Dove Award. And one of our recent graduates, Phil Nitz, he has a project also that has received a Dove nomination. It just makes me feel so good that these kids are going on. You know, it's one thing to have an experience in college and look back and just kind of freeze that and say, boy, that was great. But no, that was my launching pad, and I've used that to go on and do something great myself. That's what we want to see.
You're making a legacy. Voices of Lee is a really big deal. You know, somebody that was in your first class would be about 57 now. Is that right?
Yeah. I have my first second-generation student.
Golly.
Her father was in, not the beginning group, but he came the second year. Her uncle was in the first group. And then I have one young lady from Mississippi, one of those early groups I talked about from the lead singers. Her grandmother played in the band of one of those groups. Man, I don't think I can hardly get up.
Well, if that don't make you feel old.
That's right.
But we're not old.
We're not old. Hey, you know, it's all about falling forward. Just keep on keeping on. That's what I want to do. I want to be effective. I want to do something great for God and something great for Lee. And I believe the Lord is going to help me.
He's obviously helped you.
Thank you, friend.
Thank you, buddy.
Great to be with you. Thanks for this.